In this episode of our Friday Favorites, I'm talking about our Sony A6300 mirrorless digital camera. I recently switched from the Nikon line of cameras over to Sony's mirrorless camera system, mainly because of the size and how easy it is to carry around. This is the Sony A6300, and it is a mirrorless camera like the A6000 is, which is what we're filming this on. So first, what is a mirrorless digital camera? Well, traditionally, cameras have a mirror in the camera body, and that mirror will reflect light coming in through the lens and then up through this little pentaprism and out through the back. So when you stick your eye up to a viewfinder on a traditional mirrored camera, you're actually looking at light that's being reflected a few times up from the mirror through the pentaprism and out to your eye. A mirrorless digital camera effectively just removes the mirror, so there's no light being reflected through the camera. So in theory, there is no viewfinder. They use the LCD screen on the back, and it's more or less a digital representation of what the camera is actually going to record through the sensor. In this particular camera, and in several mirrorless cameras, there is still a viewfinder because LCD screens can be tough to look at, especially when you're outside in the sun, the glare, those kinds of things. So this one does have a viewfinder. I just look through it like I typically would through a mirrored camera. And again, it's just a screen inside the viewfinder that's a digital representation of what you're going to see. It's still not a direct through the lens reflection of what's right in front of the camera. The benefit, well, the way that that your mirrored cameras work is when you take the shot, when you press the shutter button, the mirror will flip up, expose the sensor to light, the sensor will record the image. Or in an older film camera, the mirror will flip up, expose the film negative, and then move on to the next frame after the mirror flips back down. So it's the mirror that's allowing the light to hit the film or the sensor. When you don't have a mirror, like in the 6300 and every other mirrorless camera, the sensor the sensor always has light hitting it, but it doesn't actually make the record. It doesn't record the image to your memory card until you press the shutter button. This has one of the best electronic, and that's what these are called on mirrorless digital cameras. They're electronic viewfinders because it's just a digital representation through a screen of what you're seeing. The A6000 had a pretty good one. The A6300 effectively doubles the resolution. It's nice and bright. It's a nice big, bright, clear image of what you're seeing in front of it. By far the best electronic viewfinder I have ever used in a camera. And like I said before, one of the main reasons why I went with Sony is because of the size of this 6300. We travel a lot, as you know, and I take my camera out with me all the time, usually on my belt through a little holster. And the lighter the camera is, the better it is. So this, what you're seeing now, is a accurate reflection of what I have on probably 90% of the time. A6300 and a Sony 18-105 G master lens, which is one of their better lenses. Love this thing. It's image stabilized, so I can handhold the camera and get stiller shots because the lens itself is stabilized. The follow-on to the 6300, the A6500, has sensor stabilization. Do not have that camera yet, but in theory that means every lens is effectively stabilized because the sensor is doing the stabilization, not the lens itself. So this camera works 99% of the time the exact same way a traditional mirrored DSLR from Nikon or Canon or Pentax or whoever works exactly the same way. There are a few things I don't like about this camera though. There is a lag when you turn the camera on before you're ready to actually take the shot. Back when I was using Nikon, I had the D7000. I turned the camera on and I was ready to go right then, and I really like that. Because this camera is all electronic, there's a 2 or 3 second delay between the time where you turn the camera on and when it's actually ready to take your shot. So there is that. And 5 minutes of research in Sony's mirrorless digital camera line will probably indicate to you most people don't like their menu system. It's very convoluted. There are options all over the place. There's like 6 or 7 different screens and 6 or 7 different sections of each screen, and there's just a ton of things that you can pick and choose from within the menu system. It's not very intuitive, but I mean, if you use Sony, you get used to it. It's not quite as much of a problem as it was probably when you first start using Sony and you begin to use the menu system and learn where everything is. But really, it's not a huge deal. If I need to modify an option where I don't know where it is, I'll either look through the menu system or I'll spend 2 minutes Googling and I'll find it and I'll set it, and that's not really a big deal. So I can get over the menu system even though it is fairly convoluted. And one other thing that I usually use with this camera is this Rode microphone that slips on like so, and a little dead cat here to help with the wind noise. And one of the reasons why I upgraded to this camera, the 6300 over the 6000, is the 6300 has a microphone input here on the side. The A6000 did not have that, so I could not use a better microphone like this. There's only a couple different microphones that work on the A6000, so did not like that. I wanted more options, and Rode is typically one of the better brands when it comes to audio. So that was a primary reason why I upgraded to this guy. And the A6000, the battery door was broken. It wouldn't close. It would just stay like that. Of course, that's all my fault. The camera fell out of the truck once, and it was still working, but the battery door broke. So not a reflection of the build quality necessarily, just normal wear and tear on that camera. Definitely a traveler's camera, 24 megapixels, which is quite frankly more than enough. One of the better APS-C crop sensors out there. 24 megapixels. I only need 10 megapixels. Most people only need 10 megapixels, maybe 15 max. But this thing has 24, so you have more than enough quality capability with the sensor in these Sony mirrorless digital cameras. So all in all, this camera has been absolutely wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Sony A6300. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Comment below if you have this camera or if you use something else that you like, especially that's lightweight, small, and easy to travel with. Always willing to talk cameras with people. That's it. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do so, especially if you like this video, and we will see you next time.